Hey, welcome back to Beyond Sunday. Wait, that actually rhymed. I like that. We are here with none other than my man, Joseph William Silva the 13th. Welcome,
wow.
buddy. Yeah.
I got a new middle name, and that is long lineage now.
That is not his actual name. We're just having a little fun. But Joey Silva is here with us. We are going to sit down and talk about a bunch of different topics today. A little bit about culture, a little bit about the church, a little bit about his life. But thank you, buddy, for coming in and discussing and having a good conversation with us. What's going on?
It's always fun to hang out with you.
Yeah, absolutely. That's all right. You've been singing all day, so
I know.
We don't we don't hate on that. So how's life? How's everything?
Yeah, life is good.
Yeah.
Life is busy.
Yeah.
Past month, we've been, work-wise, we've been figuring out what church is like with outdoor services. Last week we launched these microservices. Yeah. And then outside of work, my wife and I bought a house.
Oh,
so
boy.
I'm like, all of a sudden, I feel like all of my interests have changed. Like all I care about now, I've have grown to know people at Home Depot.
Yeah. You're like, Steve, Nancy, what's up?
It's funny, actually, this morning I have like a kind of like a spiritual, director or, kind of someone who I can just go to.
Yeah.
And we were talking, and I've really grown to, over the past 3 to 4 years, grown to have steady Sabbath every week.
Well, that's good.
Except this past month since moving, my Sabbath
has
turned into painting.
Painting's not Sabbath.
Yeah, and honestly, the first few weeks were like, this is so fun because I have a lawn and I want to do this, and then I'm like, woof, I need to take a break.
Yeah.
So it's great. I'm like, God is so kind to us. We're really pumped about just having some space, but
Well, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, moving is it's a crazy time in life, and it really kind of puts different things into perspective because now everything is changing. Because were you in an apartment before, or
we're in a little 800 square foot condo, which was honestly in itself a huge blessing for a different day. I'll tell that story, but now we have a home.
A home.
Which is
exciting. Everything's different.
Yeah.
Guess what?
Yeah.
All the outside is you. Everything is you. But it's definitely an exciting time. So I'm super happy for you guys in terms of where you're at in life. So I wanted to ask you a couple questions as your role here at Vox. We just rolled out core groups. We just rolled out the new devotional. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about those things and how your department kind of played a role in putting those things out. Because honestly, I saw the books and we just started. I actually had my first core group meeting today, and it was actually a really cool.
I have mine tomorrow.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. So just tell us a little bit about how what those things are, how your department kind of played a role, and the overall vision for the church. I know it's a lot of questions.
No, it's good. So our creative department really kind of comes alongside a lot of ministries in our church. Just to how can we support this effort or this resource and, one, make it aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah. They designed the entire, both booklets, right?
Yeah. And I would be fooling anyone to say that I was honestly part of a little bit of it, but we are, one of our designers, Casey, really took the lead on Personal Jesus. And that whole, even the layout and vibe
it's awesome.
Is awesome.
It's
and
awesome.
Really, she did an incredible job.
Yeah, you open it up and you're actually like, oh, this is cool. Look at this page. You're skipping ahead. You're like, oh, look at this page. Look at this page.
It's important to make things look nice because we want things to look nice, but even so much deeper than that. That it's honestly a little bit of maybe a shallow reason, but we want things to portray beauty because God is the ultimate creator, and so how can we utilize our own creativity that he's given us, and then it also makes it wow, this is something I want to take part in. And so actually I've heard a handful of stories, one in particular of someone who really doesn't have the rhythm of spending time with the Lord, but having something in their hand that tells them what to do has actually given them a spiritual hunger to spend time with Jesus. And that's really what, or at least our creative department, our heart is to draw people closer to Jesus, not to just create, pretty looking things. And
but shout out to the creative department because they put together something, just like what you said, it's very aesthetically pleasing, but at the same time, it captures your interest and it captures, the heart of what the church is trying to accomplish. We want people to spend, time in the morning, time in the evening, to get in that routine. And I think for some people, I'm not saying that not everyone does, but it gives them an extra push to say, hey guys, this is a good a lane to stay in. Let's stay in this lane, and let's see where it takes you. If you continue in this lane, great. If you come this way a little bit, after all this is done, go back to your normal routine, whatever it is. But so I mean, for me, it spices it up a little because that's not my process of doing things in the morning. So
even like for me yesterday, 2 days ago, it was like look up verses, and it didn't give it to me. It was actually really great, and I feel like the Lord really speaks something very specific through a verse I found myself, and so I think that's like a super awesome thing. The other thing that I think is really unique to specifically personal Jesus is this evening portion, where like I've gone through phases of life where I've been spending like regular time with Jesus in the morning and a little bit at night, but I hadn't in a while, and so this like night. What are we calling it? Examine, asking ourselves those questions. My wife and I are actually doing it together.
Oh, cool.
And it's been really great to kind of end our night at that place. So another way that we've kind of been, our creative department's been working is just to create like impactful and strong content. And so, both Personal Jesus and this core stuff, we kind of rolled out a whole content, revising team. How do we strengthen not only like our grammar, which we want, things to be and be professional, but also like, does this fully make sense? And how can we just, be concise in our language, but also like impactful? So that's been, both those things were, I'm glad that they're done, they're in hand,
Well, you talk about grammar. You were an English major, right?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Honestly, it's so funny. I'm like such a little nerd about the Oxford comma. But.
No, it's all good. But that's, I mean, it's honestly, it's great, and I appreciate it. And I'm sure all of our listeners appreciate it too. It's just something extra. Are you guys planning on continuing something like this? I mean, is this something that is going to happen, biannually or quarterly or, what's the, and I don't know if you have the answer. I'm just asking right off.
I don't have any specifics, but we do really have a heart to, one, come alongside like different campaigns and sermon series and providing resources to bring spiritual growth to individuals. But we also have a heart to like, what else can we resource our church with? And so we've been, dreaming about like an Advent book or something around the Christmas time, or what's, another, I know you do. But again, we want things to look nice, but with the heart of like, let's draw people closer to Jesus through a book. How wild is that, And so, yes, we will keep doing this kind of stuff.
So along the same lines, a lot has been happening in society, in culture. So I wanted to kind of dive in with you personally about things that you do in terms of keeping yourself grounded. And I'll give you kind of an example. It's an election year. This is going on. The world is, especially our country, is a little bit in turmoil. So what are some practices that you do to kind of escape from the world for a second, to keep yourself grounded and, to really focus on the pursuit of Jesus? So, I don't know if it's, devotional, whatever it may be. I just try to get to know you and have our listeners get to know you a little bit more.
So I think the first thing that comes to mind is this like daily time with Jesus. And I know we often go back to that. I feel like I'm often, someone, a buddy and I are talking and it's like, well, how's your time with the Lord? And I know at least for me, when that is lacking or when that is lackluster, a myriad of things come up where it's like, I'm, struggling here, or I'm quickly, offended here. And so, with, the struggles of, coronavirus and all that entails, and with the struggles, that we see in our nation, and with the, personal family things that are happening in my family, my like solid rock being the Lord and that time with him, quality time, is definitely a huge piece. A huge piece also, I think, even within that, is I try to like almost daily remind myself of my need for Jesus. And so I like, if someone stole my journal and looked at it, they'd see almost every day, like I'm, just like, God, I need you, even when I feel awesome, this past month, like I said, we bought a house and it was so exciting. God's blessed us so much. And I desperately need him every single day. And that keeps me grounded, because it reminds me, wow, without him, I'm a mess,
It's so true.
I think another thing too, that, people have to use like their own discernment, and that's why we have the Holy Spirit to like kind of guide us. But specifically like outside of Jesus and, news outlets and, internet stuff and what's happening. I love to be part of the know. I was actually talking to a few of our department heads earlier today about how like I love to know what's happening in pop culture and in the news. But for me, I've learned over the past 2 years that I need to like limit my interest.
Yeah.
Like, again, I'm not saying being ignorant to what's going on. Actually, I really want to be knowledgeable. I want to be able to talk with people about, you know, current events. But when my current event, you know, overtakes a lot of other things in my life. Even like, I think back to like the beginning of coronavirus quarantine, end of March, April, I was like double checking CNN, double checking Fox News, double checking all the things, all, you know, and all the news outlets. I was constantly taking it in, and it got to the point where like I had no peace. I was, you know, constantly, you know, worried about stuff, and so I learned I want to know what's going on, but I need to limit it to probably like once a day, you know? Same with social media. Like I love, you know, checking out different things. Honestly, since like this house stuff, I'm on Facebook Marketplace all the time.
Yeah, I know.
I don't even need anything, and I'm still looking.
Look at this lamp. We could use this.
But I need to limit that too, because it's like, you know, how much of it do I actually need to know?
It's
you
true.
know?
It's absolutely
so
true.
not being ignorant, because I think there's an issue with that in itself, but like my hope is in Jesus. My joy is in spending time with people that I love, in knowing a little bit, you know, but that's where, like, you know, if I'm consumed with the issues of the world, then my heart gets, like, you know, in a place where I'm weary all the time. And so just being aware of that.
Well, it's true. I think Justin said it very well this weekend when he was in his sermon. He was talking about the guy that he met. You know, I forget his name of basketball. I'm not a huge basketball guy. I mean, if it was Wayne Gretzky, it'd be a different story. But anyway, he was talking to, you know, and it really kind of put it into perspective that the things that happen that we see that we think will be so significant in our life. So, you know, he met this guy and it was probably a huge moment in his life. Oh, you know, I met this guy, but what does that actually do? You know, it actually puts us in a place where, you know, if you think about it, it's just an empty hole. You know, it's there, but it doesn't actually mean anything. It has no significance. And I kind of pertain that to my own life. It's like, wow, you know, yeah, I met this person, but what does that actually mean? It doesn't mean anything. Yeah, it's cool to meet them. They had some great accomplishments, but in terms of my peace and my heart and my soul, you know, it does nothing for me. It just, you know, it's a conversation that I can have with one person that might be interested. You know, again, I had no idea who that guy even was. I don't follow basketball. So, you know, it really kind of, it's full circle in terms of, you know, what brings us peace in our heart. Is it the fact that these accomplishments and these things that we do, these people that we meet in this world that we live in, you know, we're so consumed with the outside world in terms of, you know, this guy said this person did this, you know, this senator is doing this, and, you know, this basketball player is doing this. You know, we're so consumed with what they say and what they care about. Yeah, you know, it's important to stay on top of current events and on top of, you know, to be in the world, but not of the world. And, you know, I kind of bring that back is what gives me peace. And, you know, and it's every time that I'm fully fledged in the word and, you know, I'm talking, you know, about God with somebody. And again, I'll go back. I said this in one of my earlier podcasts, leading somebody to Jesus is probably the most fulfilling thing that I've ever done in my entire life. You know, and I've had a list of accomplishments, you know, I'm not saying that any of them were great, but that moment was like, wow, you know, that's what brings you peace. That's like the true feeling. So I feel like, you know, being at peace is totally different. And, you know, I mean, and again, I'm sorry, I'm just going on a rant right here.
No, it's good. And I think, you know, anytime that my time with the Lord, my time in prayer, my time in even just receiving from the Father is less than my time being consumed by media, being consumed around, you know, being even talking with friends about things. Community is so good.
And I mean, you can even see it when you're worshiping, you know, and I film most of the worship. So I see, and it looks like, you know, when you're worshiping, you're in a completely different zone. And that's what's cool is you could see that, and it's being portrayed that when you're worshiping, you know, it's not about making music for people to listen to, you know, you're doing something completely different. I mean, what does that feel like on your side? What are you thinking about when you're doing that?
So, you know, in this time where like we're doing a lot of recording, you know, with only a few people in the room, I've been challenged myself, and then, you know, encouraging, you know, my friends who are doing it with me, like, guys, like, nothing is promised. Tomorrow isn't promised.
That's 100% true.
And so, like, I have 15 minutes now to just like love on Jesus. And like, God forbid I take that for granted. And so like, I want to, every opportunity I have, whether it's by myself in my room in the morning and no one else sees it, or, you know, we happen to be recording something, like, I want to get something out of this. I want, or not even get something out of it, but I want to take an opportunity to like exalt Jesus. And even like, you know, even for myself, like I might be leading other people, but God, speak to me. You know, I want to be open to you. And I think there have been times, and it's a dangerous place to be, that I'm like, oh, I'm just going to be in routine, you know, and that's for sure happened to me. But like, it's been a good reminder, even in this season of like recording, that like, okay, all right, from 11:30 to 11:45, we're recording something, but like, this is also time for me and Jesus to connect, you know? And so even like I said, like with the peace stuff, like, you know, if my time being consumed by the media is more than the time I'm spending with the Lord, like that's where like I'm showing myself where my heart is, you know? And so, you know, again, I love TV. I love being aware of things, but like I'm grounded when I'm, you know, when priorities are in check, you know?
Well, I mean, I think that's a word for everyone out there. You know, I mean, look at your life, look at what's going on, you know, throughout your day. You know, we all have our routines, although they're a little bit different now with quarantine and everything else going on. But look at your day. I mean, are you spending more time on social media? Are you spending more time reading just any kind of book when you could be spending time in the Word, in, you know, and you can even get with somebody else. It doesn't always have to be just by yourself. But, you know, that's what's going to bring that peace, and that's what's going to bring that, you know, that it's just a sense of not like
nearness to God. Yeah. I think I might have told you this before, but like you know, we call them breath prayers, like very short little prayers. Yeah. So I don't, in the middle of my day, I'm in the middle of something, I'm in the middle of a task, or I'm driving somewhere, like my breath prayer or a quick prayer I've been asking, or, you know, giving to the Lord is like, God, I turn my heart to you right now. So like, I might be thinking about a million things, but I'm going to pause. And like right there, you know, my attention is towards heaven, is towards Jesus.
Yeah. Well, all right, we're going to take a little bit of a turn here. Yeah. I want to ask you a little bit about, you know, the church as a whole. You know, we're going to kind of step away from your life, but I just want to talk to you. You're a leader at this church, and I just want to ask you, you know, what kind of role do you think that the church, and I'm not talking Vox, I'm not talking about, you know, this religion or that religion, I'm talking about the church as a whole. What type of role do you think the church plays in society? Yeah. And obviously our society is a little bit different than, you know, this country, that country, this country. But, you know, I mean, as a leader here, what do you think the church should be, you know, what influence should they have in the culture?
Yeah. I will preface to say that I have no, you know, church history and Bible degree. But I will like kind of speak just some experience, even just from a little bit of what I see in scripture. But, you know, Jesus says to like, go make disciples. And so I would say the church is to be a place to help people grow, more, to be more like Jesus. And so how are we equipping the people around us and in our community and people who are walking into our community, or, you know, any church to have a further understanding, a greater understanding of the gospel. I also, you know, Jesus models for us so much, like being like somewhat of full of mercy, you know? And so even Justin spoke, you know, this past week about the woman at the well who, you know, Jesus shouldn't have been interacting with her, and yet he met her there, you know? And so as the church and as a leader, and also just as a follower of Jesus, how do I operate in that, you know? And I would say I try to, but there's definitely times where like I am too busy for other people. And so I would love to see our community, you know, continue to be and grow in this area of like, I'm showing mercy to people, even though it might not look like, you know, they might not look like me, or they might not act like me, or they might, you know, not even believe what I believe, but I want to be someone who looks like Jesus, which he was full of mercy, you know? And then I also think, you know, and I'm proud of our church. I'm proud of our outreach department and all the things that they're doing, but, you know, also just being that like provider for the poor, for the broken, and how can we reach out to actually our community, not like, you know, not some faraway idea, but like, what are we doing on the ground to like serve the poor?
And I think Vox does a great job in terms of local communities. And I talked to a lot of different campus pastors, and they all have a different outreach in their specific community.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, which I think is amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, New Britain is different than New Haven, is different than Bridgeport, and everyone kind of picked the need in their community, which I think is huge because, we're trying to grow the gospel in the region of New England. Yeah. So what happens in Stanford is going to be way different than what happens in Brantford and in North Haven. Yeah. All those different regions and micro kind of what am I the word I'm looking for? Yeah, and like all those different places, they all have different needs.
Yes, yeah.
And that's what I think is awesome. It's not just, hey, we're just going to do this and and
across the board.
And see what happens.
And it's so good to be like the hands and feet of Jesus where it's needed. Yeah. So like I think of like New Haven. I mainly attend New Haven. I'm mainly in New Haven, so I'm most familiar with some of the outreach efforts there. Yeah. And New Haven, a big focus has been like, how do we help those who are currently experiencing homelessness? Yeah. And so like that looks a whole lot different than like Jim and that team in North Haven, really caring for like some of the families.
Yes.
Which, I'm sure there's needs across the board that are similar, but I think it's a powerful thing to like look at cities and like where could we really make an impact, know?
And we just launched 2 new campuses. We have, up in New Britain. Did you happen to go to New Britain this past?
I wasn't there. Steph was there.
Steph was there.
But I heard it was awesome.
Yeah.
And it's just so exciting.
Yeah.
We were like in that city. I know that Mike and Kelly have been like, patiently waiting
and
also just like waiting for the Lord, and it's so good that like we are able to be there.
And then Worcester had its
first microservice.
Yes, that's right.
Had on
that's
Sunday.
Right.
So
man, that's so exciting.
It's so good.
I know. And just see, even through COVID, I mean, I was talking to Mike and he said they had, a bunch of people he's never even seen before, which is awesome because through all of this, through COVID, we still launch microchurch, which isn't at all what church is going to to end up being, but we still launch microchurch and we still get new people showing up.
It's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be such a testament when this is all, kind of over and we're back, and just to see how far we've grown, because we really can't see, growth yet because we don't see people, we don't have the numbers, we don't have any of that. We just have, kind of what we know and online.
It has been pretty cool though. I don't know any of the numbers for sure, but I've heard some of them, but it's cool to see, like even last week, we gathered, a handful of people in, I was in New Haven and I saw, Brew measuring the, 6 or 8 feet between each group. And so doing it in a way that was like following the recommendations, but we gathered, which was awesome. And then on top of that had online stuff, and so I know that a handful of people I've talked to who either didn't feel comfortable or didn't register and couldn't make it, but they were still able to like hear the first, as we launched this new personal Jesus sermon, got to partake in that.
Yeah. Well, so, I mean, with all that being as it is, I'm super excited to see where it goes and, to watch it grow. I wanted to, before we sign off, I wanted to talk a little bit about the holiday season. Obviously, I'm a huge Christmas guy. Do
people know why you're a huge Christmas guy?
Well, not only is my birthday on Christmas right there, but it's just something about Christmas in, I just had a great experience growing up. It was just a day, and my birthday aside, it was just a day that, it was family oriented. We always woke up. We always read the Bible before we piled downstairs, tackled over each other. But it was just a day that I love. So I'm trying to continue on it. And I'm like a super Christmas guy. So for all you guys out there, I mean, whoop, whoop. Christmas. So anyways,
86 days. We were just talking about right before he hit record. I was like, Kurt, do you know how many days was the countdown?
I said 87. I was one off. So I wanted to just talk about, the outreach or, what Vox Music is going to do. Do we have any kind of idea? Because usually we do this massive production, this Christmas production. And again, I don't know if you have any answers, but I just want to talk about it real quick.
Our history has been like really blowing out. Christmas.
I mean, blowing out. It's amazing.
Break dancers. And big screens. And, last year we did like, we were in Hartford and in...
Yeah, it was crazy.
A few different places.
Yeah, it was nuts. I mean, video walls and everything.
Oh, man. So there is part of us that is like, not grieving because that sounds too dramatic, but like, man, we can't gather, 1,000 people in a place. Just to be safe, and even really like that doesn't make much sense in the current state that we're in. but we still obviously want to do something. And so, you know, like I said, it's always been these kind of large productions, really to like put the attention on Jesus, on like what he's done, what his arrival means, which is just like a crazy thought in itself. But you know, this year, instead of this big, huge, you know, event, we've really, and I don't even think we've ever announced this yet, so you guys get a brand
there we go.
idea.
Maybe I should cut the tape right now.
No, it's fine. We're still formulating some details, but really, how do we, instead of making it a big event, how do we make it we're going to, kind of like we talked about before, be the hands and feet of Jesus, you know, serve, you know, just like Jesus arrived and came here for us. What are things that we can do to celebrate his birth and really love on people? And so, you know, 2020 has been a year. For a lot of reasons and for a lot of, you know, for everyone, I'm sure. And so how can we like bring some joy, bring some kindness, bring some, you know, happiness to the place? And we immediately thought of caroling, you know, and who doesn't love like some people showing up at the door and singing a song. And so we're planning on launching, I think we're calling it like the 5,000 song campaign. But just really encouraging all of our community. And we're going to figure out how to resource this and how to figure it out, but encouraging people, go out to, you know, your neighborhoods, to local police stations, to local hospitals, and just like spread like the joy of Christ, Christ's arrival, through song.
I mean,
it'll be a great communany thing.
To get back to the roots of what Christmas is all about. I mean, that's going to be amazing.
And we'll also do, you know, we'll be still, you know, most likely everything's up in the air, right? You know, who knows what December will look like, but we'll be in micro church. So we'll obviously have some services that are more Christmas oriented, and Christmas kind of falls in the middle of the week this year. And so we have some plans that will be fun around that time.
Sweet.
That will be online.
All right. Awesome.
Again, but who knows? Maybe everything will go away.
Yeah. Hey, you never know. Well, anyway, you know, when we end up getting closer to that and you have a final, we'll have you back on. We can talk about, you know, what's up and coming. But Joseph William Silva, what did I say? The 12th or the 13th?
I don't even remember. It is not true.
I appreciate you, buddy. Thank you so much for being here. Yeah, absolutely. We'll see you guys next week.